Hello, and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at the best teams for the Open Master League. Today we're going to have 10 teams here again for you to play for the next 2 weeks. Actually, we're going to have Master League available together with the Psychic Cup for the next week, where we have already a video for the Psychic Cup on this channel for the top teams, so definitely check that one out. Gonna be linked in the end card. But not only this, we're going to also have another week afterwards, where you can play a Master League, Great League, as well as the Ultra League. So, if you enjoy our fifth videos here, feel free to leave a like and let's hop right into the meta. Taking a look now at the meta for the Open Master League, we're going to see Zygarde still on top here, but we also have other Pokemon that got buffed now, which are going to have a lot more play, like Solgaleo getting access to a buffed Fire Spin, Yveltal getting buffed, and Sucker Punch. Rhyperior I would imagine to be a needy every team. This Pokemon looks insane. We have a lot of teams coming up with this Pokemon as well. Florges is actually at rank number 9, which is going to be very cool for us, and I have no idea how Kyurem got up to like rank 10 here. This Pokemon has basically no play ever, but maybe I'm wrong with that one. Maybe this Pokemon has actually a lot of play. Otherwise, Landorus, I actually think it didn't really get a nerf for the Mudshot. We're going to talk about this when actually the Master League is going to be available, because I kind of want to take a look at this Pokemon as well. Moltres here very high up, which is interesting. Marshadow having access to Shadow, Marshadow having access to Shadow, that does make a lot of sense. Marshadow having access to Sucker Punch is going to be very interesting here, because definitely got a good boost with that one as well. We're going to have quite a few other Pokemon that got buffed, like the Enamoras or the Tapu Lele here, or even the Ursaluna. So they're going to be quite a lot of different new Pokemon that are going to have some play in the Open Master League, and let's hop right into the team. Now we're going to take a look at team number 1. We're going to have here the Palkia in the lead, we're going to have the Rhyperior, and we're going to have the Necrozma. Also, big shoutouts to Dracos here. A lot of the teams are from them as well. We have like basically a Discord server kind of talk about best teams for each kind of league, and here a lot of teams were copied from what they said as well. So a lot of them as well, though still, especially later on, going to be my own creations, especially around buffed Pokemon. So stay tuned for this, but the first one is going to be one about the Rhyperior here. Rhyperior is for sure hyped for good reason. This Pokemon is amazing. This thing, now with the Mudstep buff, is going to be completely top meta for the Open Master League. Expect to see this Pokemon basically everywhere, and this is kind of underperformance for this Pokemon, what you see here, because of the poke first breaking swipe never gets the debuff, and of course in reality it's going to be a 50-50 chance. So basically, a lot of the matchups that you see here could be even better when you play it in the Go Battle League, and that is quite ridiculous. Rhyperior going to be one of the main Pokemon you want to build for the next season if you have not done that yet. But otherwise, you're going to have here Necrozma in the back, or the Ho-Oh. We kind of need a Pokemon that can beat Fairy-type Pokemon hard. That's why there's Necrozma or the Ho-Oh in the back, or Solgaleo would work out as well. And in the lead, we're going to have the Palkia or the Zygarde here as well. Zygarde very difficult to get, of course. But yeah, basically lead is going to be weak against mainly Steel type and Fairy type Pokemon. We have a good answer for both those in the back there, and that's kind of how this team is going to work. Also, Pokemon in the back going to be very weak to Water type Pokemon like Kyogre, and so we have a good answer, especially with the Palkia in the lead here, to counter this Pokemon. Team number 2, we're going to have the Ho-Oh in the lead. This Pokemon is going to allow you again to kind of counter Fairy-type Pokemon, which our backline doesn't really like. And we're going to have a team here around the new buffed Hydreigon. Brutal Swing, now being 35 energy, is going to help this Pokemon out quite a bit. Definitely climbed up a lot in rankings. Flash Cannon's coverage is still not really ideal, but kind of like type-wise it's very, very cool, but like the move itself is not really a strong one. But Dialga going to allow you to bait out potential Fairy-type Pokemon with this thing here, and it's kind of a very old-school classic strategy of having Ho-Oh Double Dragon. But Hydreigon even gives it a bit of a twist, as you're going to be able to beat Pokemon like Necrozma does Snail with this thing now as well, or like have a lot of play against those Pokemon, which is very cool. And so I definitely enjoy this one quite a bit, and I think especially for Hydreigon and also Dialga, the two-shield Snare are going to be a bit better for it in terms of how like the matchup's going to look, because a lot of the Pokemon that you see here, where apparently you lose, is going to be actually kind of fine for you. The one reason why you maybe don't want to run Hydreigon there, and where you maybe even want to run, if you have a Zygarde as a sales up for this team, is Rhyperior. Rhyperior might be a bit tricky if you run the team that you see here right now, but again, you can adjust it a bit with the Palkia or the Zygarde. Moving on to the next team, we're going to have here team number 3. We're going to have the lead of Sucker Punch variant of Yveltal. We're going to have quite a lot of teams still coming up with this Pokemon. We're going to have the Xerneas, also Florges works out as well. Florges got a big buff this season with Fairy Wind getting buffed, so Pokemon for sure worth getting. Necrozma in the back here. Necrozma, very cool, sweeper, especially for the current meta. And again, you apparently lose against Rhyperior, which I feel like is not always the case, because Rhyperior has to land, especially against the lead, the big hard hitting Rock Wrecker, you still have coverage for this Pokemon, basically on every Pokemon here. But yeah, Rhyperior is going to be good against most of the teams because Rhyperior is just so overpowered anyway. That's going to be good basically against everything. We're going to have the alternative here in the lead as well of the Landorus, which is going to help you out with Rhyperior for sure. So that would be definitely a way of dealing with it. But yeah, this team for sure is definitely something that you should try out if you have the Pokemon for it. Next up here, we're going to have the lead of Enamoras. You can also go for some other non-legendary options here if you don't have any of the leads. You could go for something like a Torricus, you can go for something like the Florges that you already looked at before. But Enamoras got a big buff as well with Fairy Wind there, and together with Rhyperior, it's basically a perfect duo. Again, and the lead is going to be weak against Steel-type Pokemon and in theory Poison-type Pokemon. But you can deal actually with those quite well with the backline that we have here. Rhyperior as a Say-Sop might be able to bait out some of those Palkia Origins as well, which would be kind of okay for you because we have Breaking Swipe, and so the matchup in the 2-sheet scenario, especially Energy Up as well, is not as bad against a Palkia. And so yeah, this team definitely should work out quite well and looks great on paper, to be fair. And again, there are different kind of options, especially for the lead here. Team number 5, going to be around the Zacian or Tapu Bulu in the lead. Landorus as a Say-Sop here and the Evalta in the back. Basically, I wanted to have a team that has Evalta in the back as a closer because I feel like Sucker Punch Farm Down is something that is going to be quite strong for the current meta. And a lot of people in the last season were running the Necrozma Duskmane as their main Say-Sop. And this Pokemon gets completely destroyed by Evalta, which is going to be lovely. Of course, our lead is going to be a bit weak against the Necrozma Duskmane Say-Sop, but our backline is really, really good against it. And so I feel like this team is going to be very, very strong. You have access to something like Close Combat as well against something like the Rhyperior in the lead, which is going to be helping you out quite a bit. And so I feel like this is going to be a very solid team to use for the next week. Next one, we're going to have team number 6 here. This is going to be, honestly, based on how this kind of works, one of my favorite teams. We're going to have the Tapu Lele actually Say-Sop or Primarina. Both of them are going to be fine. I actually really like Tapu Lele based on what it looks like here. We're going to have Astonish, Moonblast, as well as Nature's Madness. You could also argue to go for Psyshock over the Moonblast, because it's the cheapest move that this Pokemon can learn, and Nature's Madness is usually the preferred charge move anyway for most of the occasions because you drop the opponent's defense, which is very important, especially with the Astonish buff. We have the Charm Torricus in the back just as like a classic Fairy-type Pokemon, but like Tapu Lele is going to be very good as like yeah, Say-Sop basically, because for example, you want to have your Say-Sop, like you lose lead, you swipe Say-Sop into your Tapu Lele, you're gonna get out something like a Necrozma Duskmane form. You're going to have the super effective Astonish against the opponent as well, which might even allow you to flip the matchup in the 2-shield scenario, which would be very important because you don't really want to have this Pokemon against like some of your backline or whatever. You kind of want to realign yourself. And so basically I feel like Tapu Lele is going to be one of the Pokemon that you really want to build for the next season, because this is like for this season, because this Pokemon with Astonish is going to be top tier meta and has a lot of potential, especially as a Say-Sop. In my opinion, it's the safest Say-Sop that you can run right now. There's not really a Pokemon that completely destroys you, so you have basically play against any kind of Pokemon here, which is ridiculous. And so Tapu Lele, for sure a Pokemon that nobody has really talked about yet, but I feel like it's going to be one of the best to run. Next one, we're going to have here the Florges in the lead. We're going to have also the Solgaleo as another option. You just like Solgaleo I like a bit more because you need a better option there for a Fairy-type Pokemon. Here for the Moltres, the moveset, I would actually not prefer go for Payback here. Payback is basically what Poke prefers, but for this kind of team, I would actually go for Brave Bird, because your goal is, well, Solgaleo, by the way, looks horrible here. It's actually really, really strong in the 2-shit scenario. Solgaleo got another buff with Fire Spin as well, which is ridiculous. This Pokemon was already very, very strong before. But Solgaleo struggles against Ghost-type Pokemon, or like the Necrozmas, or like the one Necrozma, the other one is of course a Psychic-type with a Ghost-type Faust move. But we're going to have great answer for those in the back here as well, which is going to be great. The lead is going to struggle a bit with a Flying-type Pokemon, where you're going to have answers in the back as well with Evalta and the Moltres. And so I feel like it's going to be a very, very solid team to run for sure. Brave Bird again, going to help you out maybe with like potential Fairy-type Pokemon that you can bait out. But you could also go ahead and go for the Evalta as a Say-Sop, and have also like the Hydreigon in the back. If you don't have a Moltres, this team is still playable with Evalta, Say-Sop, and Hydreigon in the back. So like there's definitely quite a lot of options for this one here, and I still think like Sucker Punch is going to be one of the most important moves in this meta, and definitely Necrozma forms have it a bit tougher this season, which I feel like is definitely kind of good though for the meta in general. Team number 8, we're going to be a team here that I built around the Marshadow, and here I was not too sure which Say-Sop I kind of want to run. There could be other Seisops as well that would make sense. For example, Mewtwo maybe would make some sense as well. Rhyperior, just a very, very safe Pokemon in the lead. You're going to be able to cover up basically also most of the weaknesses, I guess, that Marshadow has. It's going to have, for example, coverage against Flying-type Pokemon with the Rock Wrecker. I think it's going to be a great Pokemon to run. But yeah, Seisop here, going to be Palkia for this team right now. I feel like you could argue of going for the Mewtwo. And Marshadow now with the fast move of Sucker Punch is going to be very, very cool against especially like the Necrozma forms, because now you do super effective damage against them. And still you have great coverage with Ice Punch for Pokemon like the Lostheart form, which I still think is going to be very strong even with the slight nerf there. But also against like any kind of Dragon type or Flying type Pokemon. And then you're going to have a close combat as like a good coverage move. The one thing that I kind of fear about Marshadow Seisop would be all the Fairy type Pokemon, because they completely wall your moveset. But otherwise, I feel like Marshadow definitely has some play, and we definitely gonna take a look at this Pokemon because I have one build, and so stay tuned for that showcase for this Pokemon here. Team number 9, second to last team here for today. We're going to have the lead of the Palkia. We're going to have the Seisop of Necrozma down wings and the Heatran in the back. Heatran is also one of the Pokemon that get a nice buff here with the Fire Spin. It's going to be very good against the Dusk main form, which I would imagine is going to be very, very common still. Definitely a bit trickier to run this season though with the addition of Rhyperior, but I still kind of want to make a team here around the Heatran because I feel like it's a cool Pokemon. I like it a lot, a very good answer, like one of the best answers to the Fairy type Pokemon in the current meta, and so why not take a look at this one here. I feel like Mewtwo Seisop makes a lot of sense for this team as well, to be a little bit less weak against Rhyperior as well, and just try to maybe bait it out with it because Rhyperior doesn't want to face the Palkia in the lead, and then you're still going to be fine with your Heatran in the back, and I still think this team should work out quite well for you. Final one here going to be a little bit of a classic one as well. We're going to have Yveltal Double Steel. This basically kind of a simple one. Yveltal being a flying type Pokemon, having good coverage with that one, and against like those ground type Pokemon of the meta. We have the steel types to cover up the fairy type weakness of it, and that is basically it as well here. And it is kind of a self-explanatory team. Rhyperior again can be a bit tricky, but it's all down to kind of baits with this Pokemon anyway, so not too sure on how like difficult it actually is going to be. I don't think it's going to be that crazy difficult, but this team definitely looks like a lot of fun to run as well. The Alga Seisop going to be very interesting as well this season because Landorus actually got a bit of a better matchup now against this Pokemon thanks to the extra damage of Mudshot. So going to be an interesting season anyway for the Master League. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to leave a like. Check out the video on the left side, which is going to give you all the teams for the upcoming Psychic Cup. And on the right side, there's a video with my girlfriend on her channel where you have some fun with the Galarian Rapidash in the Open Ultra League. So definitely check that video out as well, and I see you then. Bye bye.